Hey guys, this is a pretty intensive little session I'm going to be doing with Spred64. This is a Commodore 64 sprite editing tool in fairly early version. It's version 1.1 beta at the minute. Just ignore this version number, it's kind of wrong. But this has now got some UI stuff in place and a few bugs still to iron out. But I'm just going to show you how this kind of works now. I'm going to make a kind of 4-tile sprite monster and going to use up each 4 tile to kind of animate them and make it look kind of cool. So what I want to do is just map these out initially. The 4 tiles I'm going to use 0, 1, 8 and 9, so the IDs show up here. And I want to kind of pre-decide my palette. Now I quite like dark grey as one of my main tones and white, but I think in this case I'm going to go for light green, and the colour here is going to be green, and I'm going to make a kind of green monster. So that's basically my 3 colours used up, but I will also probably show you what happens if I do like an extra overlay just to show you, but I don't know if I'm going to use that for the full lot, because that's then 8 tiles just for one character, which means if you are doing some multiplexing you're using up 4 already on that horizontal line. So these are things that you can consider, but this does all the kind of overlay and things like that, so I do want to show you that. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and just start kind of, I usually start very rough the kind of shape in general that I'm trying to make, and you know roughly where things are going to be, the kind of scale and proportion, and I want to make a kind of troll like character here, so I'm kind of going to make the head sit inside the body a bit to give it no neck and just kind of joins onto the torso there. So I'm starting very rough, and you know gradually I'll build something up. I just right click to remove. Now I'm using a tablet, so it works perfectly fine with a tablet. Doesn't need any pressure sensitivity or anything like that. It's kind of pointless, but I'm just using a tablet and left mouse button and right mouse button to place or remove pixels here. Now I've got most of the base in. It's a little bit messy, but I've got a few little kind of ideas appearing here. Nice little kind of bracelet. Maybe he's got a weapon as well. I could always do that as a separate sprite, but I think in this case I just want to do whatever's quick and easy. Don't think I want any hair on this guy. So now I'm kind of taking my time a little bit to get a few things right. Let's get that kind of collarbone in there. A little kind of shadow under the, maybe a little shadow under the head. I can think about where my shadows are, like on the left hand side and things. A little bit of muscle form there as well. A little bit of boob. A little bit of boob on this side as well. And maybe a little belly button. And maybe he's got a little rag to cover up his bits. And that's quite easy just to throw a darkened shape in there. And I really want to kind of define his legs a bit better than this. Just want to make that rag more distinct. And yep, so I've been working on this tool for about a week now, and it's came along very fast, very rapid development, this tool, because I needed it to basically make stuff. If I don't have the tools I can't make the things right, and I'm good at tool making, so I figured, you know, I'll just go ahead and make something that does what I need. I'm just going to put the bracelet here and here, kind of like he was chained up or something. Let's get rid of that pixel there. That's kind of the major bits of that. Right, so now I can start kind of colouring in the base. So now me actually making this green, this tone light green, don't know if it's a good idea, maybe not, but for the sake of this it's fine, because light green, well, imagine you're in a underground sort of cavern, right, and most of it's quite green, or kind of green tones or browns and things, and especially browns, and you've got an orange light source hitting off those browns, then it is going to make a kind of greenish yellow tinge like that, and that's going to be the highlights. So that kind of works, and most of the game would be in that area. Right now, if you're loading out a whole different bunch of sprites, you can change that up, and it's kind of like you're just changing the reflected colour, you're not really changing the base colour. Now it's a bit kind of funny saying that when you've got big chunky pixels like this. Nobody's really going to worry about these things, but there we go, there's my incredible help dude. So you can see we've got the IDs there. You can press tab or click the little eye to hide all that extra information, and we can kind of just see our dude now, and I can go ahead and make some changes. I want to kind of fix this up so it's more like a kind of fist, like that. Even making it a solid blob. I quite like a little bit of something there. There we go, that kind of works. I just want to distinguish that against the leg, and then I can put in my little highlights. So I like to use this kind of checker dither, or sometimes the lined dither effect, where I do like every second line, and that can kind of work. Just bear in mind there'll be anti-aliasing near the darker pixels, so I just need to sort of bring them back, so that's fine if it's there, not too close to the edge. So sometimes I'll use the checker depending on what kind of texture I want from that. And let's give them a little kind of derpy looking, and I can give them little eyes like that. Go right to the edge there, make it look like a proper highlight. So that's the main dude, and I want to duplicate this frame now. To duplicate the frame, it's actually a feature that I'm working on, is like frame duplicate and copying frames and stuff. So just now you can only duplicate the frame to the next, so if I press right and it's gone to the next frame, let's just press tab so you can see all the slots. So that's the next frame, there's nothing in there yet. I can either place these manually like that, or I could like sort of right click, take those away. If we go back here and press F2, right, and you see it jumps to frame 1, so now I've got 2 frames the same. And I can't just like update these are fixed, right? Anything I make, any changes I make here get changed here, right? These are just, that's the reference system to this. So what I want to do is copy and paste these. Now that's copy, that's paste, so I can click that, go here and click this one, or Control C, Control V. Right, so I can do that. Now I want to show you the overlay thing with a high res first. So I'm going to go back to frame 1, and I want to go upper layer, so I'm going to click this, and you see we're now in layer 1, and I want to draw something with this sprite, but I want to turn this into high res, so I'm going to click this here, it turns it into high res, and I can draw on this, right? I just need to avoid drawing on the bottom left pixel, because that will make all of this transparent, right? And it's the bottom left pixel is basically going to be the transparent pixel, the transparent color, so I usually leave that alone. So now we're on this layer, I just need to click, and you can see that's now over there. Let's do the same. So this little number 1 you see in the top left, that's actually the layer ID. If there's no number there, it's basically the base, which we'll use most of the time. And you can do these overlays if you're making these multi multi-layered sprites, which you often see. So I'm going to change the main color to black here, and I'm going to use that and do a little kind of outline, which is very common. So whatever you're trying to do, then you know these things might apply. So this is more tricky. This is a bit of a fine art to this, getting it right, because you've got the double pixels underneath, but then you've got the ability to sort of refine these corners, and I find this really tricky for some reason. But you see, I've made that much more rounded now, and I'm giving them just a general outline. And you see, if I want to go here, I basically need to put another pixel in that one, or whatever one this is. So that's 1617. 1617, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a bit of a boo-boo with the numbers, I think. So we're down. This actually says ID 16, 17, 24, 25, but that's not right. Oh, sorry, yeah, that is right. That's that one. I don't know why that says 17, mind you. Do you know what? It's fine. I'm tripping because these ID numbers actually are the base, right? And these ID numbers are actually the extra layer, right? And it's just a new feature that I've added, so I'm still getting used to it myself. I'm just going to hide that so don't get confused by it, right? But that's useful for if you're reconstructing this inside, you know, in your Commodore game. Confusing myself with it. So now I can kind of like make that refined shape. So I want to go up here and fix that pixel. Is basically what I want to do. Right, and you can see the big green pixels, they're limited in what you can do, right? But what I like to do is maybe make a little kind of fake anti-aliasing there by checkering the edge. So I'll just do a little bit of that there as well, and that's kind of fine. Maybe, yeah, maybe the little bracelet could have a little shiny bit on it, like that. Yeah, not too sure, something like that. I'm just going to delete these ones just now, so I can clear these by clicking on clear. Right, and if I go back to the frame 1, it's just the same, right? So, and I can right click these. As long as I'm on the right layer, I can get rid of these from that. So I'm just going to work on this layer 1. I just want to show you this. Carry on. Make it a little bit thicker there. I really find this tricky. I don't know how these guys have the patience to do it, but this tool definitely helps with this process, because I always find it a bit of guesswork. And imagine trying to program all this if you were doing it all just on paper. You're just putting in numbers, you need to work out all the values. That for me is where the kind of crazy skill is. I guess it's just a process after a while, right? It's not really a skill, but it's definitely the knowledge of what you're doing, like counting up binary numbers and mad stuff like that. So I'll just refine his head, put a little little thing on his head like that. I suppose I could kind of use some bits to help break up that shape a bit more. But I suppose I could just do that here. Although it's quite nice just with the 1 pixel. It's just a shame it's black. Yeah, it's just to sort of do that. But yeah, definitely a fine art. Okay, let's go this way. So I'm definitely having a good bash at this, pretending I'm a old school graphics guy, and I quite enjoy making Commodore style art. I always wanted to do it when I was younger, and now I've got the ability to make tools to make it easier. I don't have to worry about the data. This actually spits out all your data as well, like all the byte data that you need to use in your assembler program. Just load it in, and you might have to reshuffle some of the data around so that you get it in the right bank and things like that, but this is basically the process. So there's quite a lot of people deving, they're making artwork and games and all sorts of stuff for the Commodore still to this day. I mean, it's a much loved machine because of the limitations of it, because of the technical challenges. Like these days, nothing's really a technical challenge. It's like you can get everything for free. You know, there's no actual limitation to anything, and you can come up with your own unique art style, or you can try remake an older game, or make a game in an older style. There's just so many things you could do these days, like re-envision an old game, you know, and think about how it would look and play. They're trying to animate, you know, if I animated this guy, I had to do all these overlays as well. It's kind of nuts, isn't it? It's like it would take a while, but this, as I said, this tool makes it faster because you don't have to sit and plan it all on paper and make, you know, and erase with, you know, if you're doing it all on paper, imagine that, like some grid paper and working out where all these pixels are going to go. But that is what they did. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy in a cool way. It's crazy in the kind of like, nobody would do that these days. So that's why I made this tool. Basically, I'm gonna take away the genuine side, taking away the actual hard work that everybody did back then. Sorry, but this is what we've got now. You know, we've got the capability to do these things, so why not? What's the point in trying to make life difficult? So there we go. I've made the outline in black. I suppose I could do a little bit in the face here as well to help the chin and stuff. So you can always like change the colours later. Like if I decided I want this to be black, like if I go up here and change this to black, you see how that all becomes black. You know, I've got a bit more with that, and I can always make these grey, and I can see it makes a kind of nice little kind of outline as well. You can always come back to these and do that kind of thing. That doesn't look too bad, you know, it's kind of like a smoother edge. Quite like that. And that way black is now one of your main colours, and grey is a bit closer to the green, so it works a bit better. I can always change the grey to brown. Let's go to each of these and make their unique colour brown. And that makes an interesting effect as well, kind of grimy. Quite like that. Actually quite like that. I can use that as a kind of anti-aliasing now. Now I've not made that outline with that in mind, so I could always go back and change some things up a bit, but now I can just use that to my advantage. Quite like that a bit better, because it just helps. It just helps eliminate some of that. I'm going to make that green so I can just get rid of that tile there. Pixel, that's the tile. So I'm mainly just looking at this and then just, you know, clicking where I need to. Go here, let's see if I can fix the mouth up a wee bit. Do a little anti-aliasing in the mouth there. In the eyes, oops. It looks goofy. That looks pretty cool. I do want to do a bit more work on his arm. So now instead of using the black to do the dither or checkered, like shadowing, I can now use that brown. So I can definitely fix up a lot things nicer. So working that out at the start is pretty important. Working out what you want your two main colours to be, because later you can't really change. I mean, you can change them, but they're going to change everything that uses them. So bear in mind that these two colours are fixed for the whole entire level, basically the whole entire load. But you can still switch them in and out per scene. If you had a red scene, you might want to swap this out for like pink or something if it works. I mean, I can always go to that. If I go back to the multicolour, you have to switch to multicolour sprite to be able to change this. I can always go and change that to yellow or grey, back to green or that, and kind of make it match the environment. You know, so everything uses one of these, because these are your kind of light colours. You got this, so the grey, the light green, pink maybe more likely yellow, and cyan here. So you get four nice tones. You get cool colour, warm colour, cool colour. I guess grey is a bit of a cool colour, or white. You know, I quite like the light green here. I also quite like the checker effect, so I'm going to go back to that. Let's just make all this green, and I'll just use my checker effect like that. That's better. Right, back to the brown tones. So I'm going to fix up a few more bits, and yeah, do a little lace like that, and down at the boob. Bit at the end. It's good because I can just cover up those edges. So it's basically just sprites being overlaid, right? That's all it is. And I think one up at that collar, whatever it is. Yeah. And a wee bit down here needs a bit of work. There's a different kind of pixel art when you're doing this. This is much more restrictive based pixel art. What I do need is a little highlight of where my cursor is. That would be really nice. So I'm constantly adding new features to this based on me using it. You know, I'm the primary user here of this this here tool. So it's quite good for you guys then, because I'm constantly kind of updating it to suit. Let's put a little one up there like that, and maybe one down at this point here, and a little bit at the edge. Now all the edge is just like a brown outline. I don't mind that. I think that looks cool. Kind of gives them a bit of a fuzzy look. Could put a little strap on him or like that. So he's built of 8 sprites. If you weren't doing any multiplexing in your game, he'd basically be the only guy there, right? But maybe he's like a guide, and you would have a little text dialogue, and he talks to you between levels, so it's perfectly fine to use him like that. Or maybe he is, he looks in the buff there. Maybe he's, oops, I'll get that back. Maybe he's multiplexed, and therefore he uses 1, 2, 3, 4 in that line, which means you can have another character his size, or two tall thin characters, you know, if you've got like a kind of double dragon type of setup. But just bear in mind, if you do a kick or something, your character's likely going to want to use two sprites wide to get that kick in place. Depends how thin you make these guys, but yeah, it's possible. And if you throw a weapon, that's going to be another one, but you might use characters for that. So there's all these limitations of that machine that makes it much more of an amazing achievement if you manage to pull off a game that uses big sprites. And definitely, I definitely like that kind of feature. Right, so that is our dude there. So if I want to animate him now, I can press F2, and that copies all the frames to the next frame. And now if I want to make a change, I have to copy all this. I'm going to save it. Now I just want to talk about the saving thing so far. Let me just throw this into folder. Yep, Spred64. I'll just put under, whoops, demo. I'll call this our Ogre. Right, so how it saves this, I just want to show you real quick. As our Ogre, I'm going to open the file location. It's basically a text file, right, and it's set up in decimal format. It's your background color ID, your main color ID, your second main color ID, and then it's onto your sprite, your sprite's ID, your sprite's mode. So it's high res is 0, multicolor is 1, the unique color ID, so 0 to 15, right? That's the pen options on that machine, and then it's all your byte data, your 63 lines, so your 63 bytes. So that those first three is basically your first line of that sprite. So if you look at that, there's nothing there, so that's all zeros. And then we go to the next line, so the first 1, 2, 3 lines, nothing in them, and then there's something there. So let's look back at that. So we got the first two, yeah, 3, and then that's just that little fourth line. You can see it there, so it's nothing there, and then those two basically add up. So I've got it all doing that for you. All the data is there for all those sprites, so you don't need all of that data, you just need to grab what you know does what. And the cool thing is you've got the little identification things there. Now this is all internal data to do with compositing. This is my little kind of system that I use for populating the grid down there. You've got a maximum of 20 frames in this setup with this 5x5 layout, and I was thinking of reducing it to like 4x4. There's no way you're going to use a sprite this big. You might, but it's quite a lot. Who knows? But it's fine. So with this setup anyway, you get 20 frames that you can animate, and I guess that's enough to work out what's happening per character. You know, fitting all those frames in here. 20 frames is usually enough for any given character, but I'm looking at an option of like reducing this to 4x4, and then you get 30 frames, and 3x3 I think you get 50 frames, 2x2 you get a lot more, I think it's 100. Okay, so now that I've copied that, I'd have to copy the IDs, copy the sprites over, so I'll do what I did earlier, copy these over here, and I might as well do this one as well. I'll just make them do something simple like a little squat or something like that. So I'll press tab to hide all that. So we're on frame 1, and basically I've just copied over the same sprites, right, because I just did F2 to do a duplicate. Now there's no button option for duplicating frames just yet because it's just something I'm working on, but F2 basically duplicates the frame. Now I just want to delete everything, so I'm just going to right click You see I'm left with the layer above. It's because you have to be on that layer. So if I go up to the layer like that, then right click, that will actually remove them. So back down to the base layer, and I'll save this just to be on the safe side, and then I'll click these down on the base, go up one layer, and then I'll put these down. So these are a copy waiting to be changed, right? And now I can do some changes. In fact, I'm not going to put these in just yet. I'll make my changes to this guy first. I'll make him do a little squat, right? So something you can do is you can offset the sprites here. Now they don't wrap round or anything like that, but if I press down a few times, you can see basically just lose those pixels forever. But now I can, oops a daisy, make sure I'm on the right color. Yeah, you don't choose the color from here. It's not like Photoshop, guys. You choose the color from here. So if you're not, if you've never worked with sprites this way, you don't get the option of using all these colors. You're basically changing these fixed colors and then you're using them here, right? That's why these three are here. So just, you have to think about that, right? So a little squat effect. I need his knees to bend for one. This is where it gets the trickiest, I find, is trying to fit everything into that small view. That does go all the way down, but you can press left and right, you can see the difference like that. Now I'm just going to go here and remove the excess so I can just see this a bit better, right? So that's supposed to be him squatting down, so I need to fix that foot a little bit more, and the little bracelet that's on his foot. That'll kind of work. I can always come back and refine it later. I usually don't stay in the same place too long. I think that was 2 or 3. Yeah. I usually just like to get something knocked out of the park before I worry about how it works for the rest of it. There we go. So that looks good. The body's moving down. I could have the hand come over the leg there, and it is very rough. It is like working with giant pencils. You're not going to get all the detail you want. And it does take time. It does take a lot of time. And then I'm going to move this down, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I just need to fill the gaps in. But there we go, I've got them kind of bum bum bum, and now I can carry on making changes, fix everything up. Bring the elbow out. Make the crease in the arm because his arm's bending in a bit. A lot of this I could do with the overlay, which, you know, is just a process. It takes time. I'll make a time-lapse version of this as well. This is more like the tutorial video for you guys to use, but I'll make a time-lapse as well. Yeah, it makes me appreciate the work that they did back in the day a lot more. A lot of technical stuff. I mean, for the technical stuff we've got today, they had a lot of restrictions and a lot of things they had to do right to make things work. Right, so that is going to be more or less. Let's make his little mouth open up as well. Oops, the wrong colour. Now I like to add like a little teeth at the top. And then his chin is going to go down because his mouth is opening. So I'll bring that there, and then let's just fix that up. Or let's take that away. Let's actually make him have like one tooth. Let's raise the eyes up. It's good to try things to see if they work a bit better. I'm actually going to take away these little marks. I don't think they do anything. I like the goofy eyes though. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video. You can go ahead and sort of spend even longer making all the overlays work with that sprite and so on. But I hope you guys enjoy using this, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.